Connecting sleep to sports isn't easy, but here goes. Mattress Firm is America's neighborhood mattress store, and it should be your goal to check out the deals that they have going on every single day. Their mattresses are softer than your rival's team's defense. They get a 10 out of tennis. You're going to love your new bed. Okay, all terrible dad jokes aside, you got to head to mattressfirm.com/podcast and stretch your budget further than a gymnast before a floor routine.
Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up.
And new undisputed UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael the Count Bisping.
This is Believe You Me on the Gas Digital Network.
Oh, shit, we're back. It's Believe You Me. I am Louis J. Gomez, Puerto Rican rattlesnake real estate himself. He is the Count Michael Bisping, and this is an audio-only episode.
It is an audio-only episode, and for those people that just can't get enough of looking at me and Lewis and Shannon, we do apologize. But still on the road, still filming MacGyver. Last week, we had lagging problems with the Wi-Fi. So, just audio, as you said.
Yeah,
as I mentioned, still in Atlanta.
Real quick, I want to apologize in advance because of the Wi-Fi. It's just not great. There might be a little lagging here and there. So let's just say in the beginning of the show, we apologize. We know there's audio issues, but we are super committed. Michael Bisping right now is on fucking set, taking his time away from being a television star now to do the show, which is amazing for you to do. But I want to apologize in advance because I know some people get upset about that.
You know, I mean, we're doing network television, but still, for me, the Believe You Me podcast comes first. There's only 8 million people watch MacGyver on a weekly basis, but you know, it's these hardcore fans that listen to us every week. That's what's important in my life, Lewis. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, you know, if I want to break it down, they really are, because it may not be 8 million people, but it is a very measurable amount of people. And these are the most hardcore fans. The people that like MacGyver, they don't really give a fuck about Michael Bisping, the person.
No, they don't. And of course, I'm only joking for the sake of being a little bit silly. But yeah, for everyone that does listen on a weekly basis, we do appreciate it. So thank you very much. We've got a lot to talk about this week. No guests calling in. Some people like the guests, some people prefer it when it's just me and you. But yeah, no guests this week. And yeah, what day is it? Tuesday afternoon. Normally it's on a Monday, but it's a Tuesday now. I was in Phoenix at the weekend. If you follow my Instagram, then I think I annoyed everybody or some people at the weekend because I kept posting that I was at the NASCAR, at the ISM Raceway NASCAR event in Phoenix, which was a lot of fun. But I was kind of like a little kid when I was there, so I was Instagramming and doing stories. And I got a few comments saying, all right, Mike, we get it. You're at the fucking raceway. Calm down. We're sick of it now. You're boring. But I've never been to NASCAR, never really watched NASCAR. But what a great event. What a fantastic day. Fun for all the family, Lewis.
Yeah, I'm not like a NASCAR guy. You know, I saw your video. I guess you said that when they were going over the rules, they didn't say anything about you taking video in the car, which is funny. But is it like, I mean, people that are into it are very much into it. I can't even like team sports. I don't like football or baseball or basketball or anything like that. To bring myself to enjoy people driving around in a circle over and over again, I don't know. I literally can't even wrap my mind around it. I can understand how somebody likes golf. There's like a game there, but it's like, Jesus Christ.
But so here's the thing, because I was like, NASCAR, you know, as you said, they just go around in a circle. But I went there, and the atmosphere is amazing. I mean, I think there was like over 100,000 people there. So anytime you get 100,000 human beings together, I mean, there's a certain electricity in the air. And then you know, they had a concert. They had all kinds of festivities. People, what do you call it? Tailgating. All kinds of tailgating going on, and people just enjoying themselves. I had the rules meeting and drove around the track in the car. That was super cool. And yeah, just a really, really enjoyable experience. To go back to what you said, so I'm in the car, and a pace car, obviously, is called a pace car. You have to set the pace. And I couldn't go above 45 miles an hour. Now, you're on a racetrack, and you got 100,000 people watching, you kind of want to put your foot down because you don't want to, you want to look good. You want to look like you can drive a car fast. But I actually went to 46 at one point as opposed to 45, and I got told off in my ear. So Mike, got to stick it at 45 because apparently the drivers, they set the pace of your car, how to go into the bends and all this type of stuff. But that said, I would feel if you're a professional NASCAR driver, you know how to go into the bends, regardless of whether or not there's an Englishman going 45 miles an hour. But that's another story. And as you said, I was in there and I'm driving the NASCAR. There's lots of people watching. And I'm thinking, I'm filming this, definitely. Because in my rear view mirror, you can see about 40 cars all revving and going side to side. It was super cool. So that was fun. A fantastic experience.
It's it's kind of more of the, almost like the lifestyle, I think. I don't know it, but I'm assuming the people that are really into it, they're into the fucking smell of the cars and they're drinking beers and, they know about how how it works, the mechanics of it. And I'm assuming it's probably even more about the actual cars and that experience than it is about, the drivers and the athletic. Do people even look at it as a real sport?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. And of course, I was asking yesterday because I'm always intrigued as to what other sportsmen make, And so I was asking around. I said, I don't want specifics, of course, but what do the top drivers here make? And they were saying, somewhere between 15 to 20. And I was like, what? 15 to 20,000 per race? And they're like, no, million per year.
Whoa.
I was like, wow. Holy shit. Yeah. So yeah, obviously there's a lot more to it because a lot of people can drive around in a circle pretty fast. So yeah, there's a lot more to it. Hung out with Kevin Harvick for a little bit. He's, if you know anything about NASCAR, he's a long time stable of the NASCAR world. Big MMA fan. Actually manages Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Recently managed Misha Tate prior to her retiring, and one or two others. Just a really, really nice guy who's a big fan of MMA as well. So it was fun hanging out with him. Obviously, a few weeks ago, me and Tyrone Woodley, we had our NASCAR thing then, and we hung out with Bubba Wallace. He was there also yesterday racing. So I felt like now I'm part of the NASCAR family, Lewis. I was there. I know the drivers firsthand. I feel like a real goddamn proper American.
Yeah, definitely. I welcome you with open arms now, man. Good for you. Did you? Was it weird for you because you and your countrymen are used to driving on the other side of the road or something, right?
Well, I did get a lot of jokes. I got a lot of jokes like that. So Michael, it's left. No doubt you're gonna go right. I was like, yeah, good one. All right, whatever. But so yeah, that was me. That was NASCAR.
How's the filming of the show?
What about you, Lewis? What have you been up to?
Just getting fucking drunk now that I'm drinking again.
So you are full on drinking again?
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm back to drinking wine. That's the one thing that I missed most.
So the people won't have heard it because we weren't quite on air, but I've got a bottle of wine staring at me in the face because I just I put a little complaint in because the room service this morning, it took me 45 minutes to get through to room service to order my morning coffee. And then just then I was trying to order coffee for the room and I had to call like 20 times. So I said, can I speak to someone? I said, because I like this hotel. The place is great. I said, but your room service is really lacking. Anyway, they brought up the coffee and they brought me a bottle of wine. So you're drinking, Lewis. And this all came about from Jamaica, man.
Yeah. Since I went to Jamaica, look, dude, I never really had a drinking problem. I'm at comedy clubs every night, and I have alcohol available to me, mostly for free or really cheap. So I just found myself drinking and getting, pretty toasty every single night. So I just decided to stop, and it was 2 years. And I don't know, when you're at an all-inclusive resort, and there's fucking Red Stripe right there, and there's fruity drinks and fruity cocktails, and you could just drink at any given time. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to give in. Who cares? I never really had a problem with it. And, I came back. And it really, dude, it hasn't been a problem since I've been back. I've just really been drinking wine. It's the winter time in New York City. It's the end of the winter. There's nothing that I love more than a glass of Malbec, just, putting a blanket around me, just watching a little bit of Shark Tank or a movie. It's the best.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree. I'm not disagreeing. For me, I'm the other way. I'm trying not to drink. For those that listened to last week's episode, yes, I do sound like a hypocrite because I was a little bit intoxicated on last week's episode, but we did do it at almost midnight, and I was in Atlanta for 4 days doing nothing. And as they say, idle hands are the devil's work. Is that what they say? Is that the expression?
I think so. But I think that means you're jerking off a lot. You took it to another level.
No, I didn't. I just fucking bored. I said, I'll have a beer and
getting drunk by yourself is the saddest
next minute,
thing.
I'm on the podcast, hammered, trying to fucking string a sentence together. So my apologies. Last week's episode wasn't the best, but yeah, I'm abstaining from alcohol these days. I'm trying anyway. But you didn't want to hear us talk about that all week. Lots going on in the world of MMA. You said some notes, Lewis. What should we start the show with?
Oh, I want to talk about Joey Diaz getting in trouble.
Of course you do. Of course. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, let's keep it on an incredibly high bar. I'll let you set the scene, Lewis.
All right. So Joey Diaz via Twitter, which, to be honest with you, you can't go to Twitter. If you're going to say shit on podcasts or on radio, it doesn't really matter. We get a little bit more leeway. But when you go to Twitter and write something, it can be taken out of context. You don't understand the tone of the person. When you just read words of somebody on Twitter and you have no idea the type of comedy this person does or what they say or do, I guess it can look pretty harsh. And Joey Diaz last week after Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah. Hold on. Before you get into that, if you follow Joey Diaz on Twitter, though, then you know who he is. It's not like Twitter is just a platform or an avenue for people to speak about politics and this and that. You have to click to follow that person. If you follow that person, you kind of know what you're in store for, and if you don't like it, you click unfollow. Simple as that.
Well,
So in his defense, prior to you even saying what he did, if you follow him, then you know the type of things you're going to receive in your Twitter timeline.
Well, the counter to that, and believe me, I'm the first person that's going to defend Joey Diaz because I live by a comics code, as they say. But it is Twitter. Twitter's a little different because it is sort of an open platform, meaning that somebody can retweet you. Somebody can happen upon one of your tweets. Twitter's almost like yelling into a mall, your thoughts, right? Whereas, Facebook.
It really is.
Yeah, Facebook's
really
like.
is, I've got in trouble for tweeting, and then I think, fuck's sake, if there wasn't such a thing as Twitter, I wouldn't have done it. What inspired me to think, I know I'm going to put this thought that is into my mind on Twitter for the world to see, and if it is somewhat controversial, as you're alluding to, then it's retweet, and I do believe going viral is the term, pardon me.
Dude, your fucking Instagram post, I wish this was a video show because I want to show it. Go to Michael Bisping's Instagram.
What?
Because it was the fucking fun. I laughed so hard. It made me jealous that I didn't get to see that and post it as my own. It was one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen.
International Women's Day.
Yes. There's Michael Bisping.
I'm taking it down.
No, you didn't take it down.
I didn't take it down. It's not there. It's gone.
Oh, you pussy.
No. It's not about being a pussy. For those people, and we'll get to Joey Diaz in a second. And yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, listen, I mean, I'm all for women empowerment and women doing well and somewhat what appears to be taking over the world and fuck men. But, listen, I'm all for everyone getting paid and getting the fair crack of the whip and equal opportunities for all. But last week on International Women's Day, I mean, it was out of control, and you've got people that live very, very privileged lifestyles tweeting and talking and posting about International Women's Day. I think it's more for, what about women in countries where they don't get a fair shake of the stick, where they're oppressed, they can't drive, they can't do this.
They don't have an iPhone 10 in their hand.
But you've got rich Hollywood entitled people going, oh yeah, bloody, your life's going pretty good, okay? What about International Men's Day? What about the men that have been working down the coal mines for 40 years and can't walk and die of bloody some kind of disease because of all the smoke they've been inhaling, but they did it and they bust their ass day in, day out. They don't get a shout out, fuck them, fuck men, eh? So anyway, it was a bit of fun. It was a post. It was an International Women's Day, and it was all creased up. And then someone put, they could have ironed it. It was just a meme. It was a bit of fun. I put that up for a laugh.
It was so funny.
But I've taken it down because it was relevant on International Women's Day. It was there for a joke and just, a bit of light-hearted humor. But if it was to remain on my timeline at all times, it's like I'm trying to disrespect women and their movement and equal opportunities for all, which is not what I'm trying to do. So that's why I took
And the reality is, you're a father, you have a daughter, you're a great husband, you bought your mom a fucking house. You're a guy who, loves women in your life and respects women in your life, and you're definitely a fucking gentleman in that world. You're like old school in that regard. You know what I'm saying? But as we're talking about Joey Diaz and people taking things out of context, it is very easy for somebody to just go, oh, look at him making a mockery of what women go through, blah, 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 blah. And the problem is, you know, and I'm not going to say all of them, but just feminists and these young, it's not even just women, it's men too, but these young liberal college students, they're just not funny. They don't have a sense of humor. They're not looking for the funny in anything. They're looking for the negativity in things. And if you're looking for the negativity in something, you're going to find it every single time.
You'll always find it, 100%. And that post that I put up, it just said, could have ironed it, which was funny. And funny is funny, and it's not hurting anyone. And if you haven't got a sense of humor, because I was expecting backlash on that. I was going to say, listen, you obviously haven't got a sense of humor, so there's nothing I can do to help you. But that's why I took it down. It was just that one day. Getting back to Joey Diaz, and I'm sure people aren't exactly sitting on the edge of their seat saying, fuck, I want to hear what Joey Diaz did. Because if you listen to this podcast, you probably know. It's out there. But he was talking about Mackenzie Dern. Obviously, she had her UFC debut last week.
Yeah, she won a split decision over Ashley Yoder. And she is, I guess a really, really accomplished jiu-jitsu player. And, also, for all intents and purposes, very attractive, good-looking girl, So Joey goes to Twitter, and he tweeted out, let me get the exact quote, I bet Mackenzie Dern's asshole is going to smell tremendous after the fight. Jesus.
Oh, God. And as you said, I do like the dirtiest, snickeriest old man laugh.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lewis. I'm putting a sweetener in my coffee. What are your initial thoughts on that? What is your stance?
My stance is that Joey Diaz is a comic and he's trying to say funny shit. Who cares? Is that he doesn't
100%.
The problem is, like, here's the thing, because he's like Rogan's boy and he's in this world and he's very, he's very much like he has fighters on his show sometimes. I think people kind of get it, misconstrued, and they put everyone in this other category. They do this with me a lot on this show. They're like, oh, dude, this guy doesn't he's not taking it seriously. And I'm like, dude, I'm a comic. I don't know. You didn't choose me to be on this show with you, Michael Bisping, because I am this amazing MMA analyst. You chose me to be on the show because we have a good, we have a good chemistry between us. We make each other laugh. We can, have a good time on the show each week. And it's as simple as that. If you wanted to do it with an analyst, you'd do it with John Anik or one of these other guys, and it'd be a fucking super intense, awesome fucking hardcore MMA show, but that's not really what this is. Joey.
No, for sure.
Joey's a comic, dude. He's a fucking comic, and, I am very much, first and foremost a comic. And any comic, whether I don't give a shit if it's a good joke, bad joke, whatever it is, if they're attempting to find something funny, give comics the opportunity to make the attempt, give them the opportunity to make the shot, and sometimes they'll miss. Sometimes people won't laugh. Sometimes people will unfollow them.
So when you say he got in trouble for that comment, what was the comment? What was the backlash? Explain the trouble that he got in, because I don't understand. So was there a kickback from the MMA community or people, UFC bigwigs, or what was the extent?
I don't think from the UFC anybody said anything. I guess there was a few bloggers. I don't even know if it was any of the major websites, but I'm looking right now on BJJ.
Do you know what it was? It was probably just some bullshit websites, some bullshit 2-bit wannabe MMA journalist websites that, unfortunately, in MMA, we do have a lot of those, a lot of people, because MMA is popular. And if you cover MMA, you might get clicks. And if you type bullshit headlines, then you get even more clicks. So who Joey Diaz gets in trouble, or Joey Diaz this. Was it a controversial thing to say? Yeah, of course it was. You know what I mean? Especially in this modern era that we live in terms of, these recent movements and whatnot. So I guess in that respect, it was bad taste. But for these websites to go out there and report on it so strongly, they're just clutching at fucking straws. And I'm sure Joey Diaz really didn't give a shit. But, unfortunately, when you put yourself out there, and for whatever capacity it is, you're going to have people comment on you. I get shit all the time. These days on my Instagram timeline, it's a little better, but it used to be very, very, I used to get shit all the time. I used to get so many nasty comments. And, okay, the argument would be, well, they're not in the public limelight. Okay, and that's a fair point. But my point is, you put yourself out there onto a stage, then people are going to say good things. Some people are going to say bad things. Does Diaz regret that? Well, I don't know him too well personally, but, maybe in hindsight, maybe he'd had a few beers or whatever. Maybe he'd rethink it. But, I don't think Mackenzie Dern is going to be losing any sleep over it. And if she is, then she really shouldn't. She should be celebrating her win and having a great future in the UFC. I don't really think she gives a fuck if some comic said what is actually a compliment about her ass. Listen, it's was it the nicest? Was it crass? Yes. Was it in bad taste? Yes. I think he was meant complimentary, though.
Yeah, if you know Joey Diaz, and I know him, I've done his show a bunch of times, and he's one of the funniest people on the planet. Joey's trying to make people laugh and trying to bring positivity to the world. I promise you. That's all he's trying to do. And I don't think it was Mackenzie Dern that was saying anything about it. I guess there was a couple MMA Twitter accounts, like female MMA Twitter accounts, that were saying he's disrespectful. But it's really never the person that should be offended, right? It's always some fucking other asshole that's on the outside that nobody really gives a shit about, and they're trying to kick up dust so they'll start having some sort of impression on the world. So yeah, dude, fucking Joey's the best. He really is. You got to do his podcast. You know who did his podcast last week?
Yoel Romero.
Your boy Yoel Romero.
Yeah, because you know what? I didn't know this. There are two Cubanos together.
Yeah.
Because last time I saw Joey, he was telling me some things about Yoel Romero, saying, you got to watch this guy, Mike. You got to watch him. This guy that he's with, he's a fucking killer. He's a fucking killer, Mike, okay? You got to watch this guy. Straight for fucking Goodfellas, Mike. He'll fuck you up. He'll fuck you up. I was like, all right, relax. Jesus Christ. It's a bit of playful trash talk. He's like, nah, Mike. This guy will fuck you up. Like, all right, cool. So what did y'all say on the podcast? Did you catch any of it?
I didn't. I watched a little bit of him on Rogan. With Joey translating, it was kind of interesting. It's just a little bit hard to follow. Like I don't speak Spanish, and
were they speaking Spanish? Does Joey speak Spanish?
Yeah, Joey speaks Spanish, so he was sort of translating, and Romero was doing sort of like broken English. It was interesting, dude. Romero, dude, very humble beginnings, dude. Cuba, like that story is very interesting. And getting to the Olympics, he talked about how like the better you got, the better they gave you living conditions. It was fucking pretty interesting overall. If you didn't hate him, I think you should be friends with him.
Hey, listen, I don't hate Yoel Romero at all. Not in one little bit, and I wish him the best. And I actually find him to be a very interesting character. I do, and I will try and check out that podcast and give it a listen. Because, listen, when you're a competitor, you're going to fight somebody, especially in the fucking UFC or in boxing, okay? Then and there's a few things said back and forth. It's all in the spirit of combat, or of competitiveness, should I say. And, of course, when somebody's got a history with steroids, and, of course, I've fought a lot of guys with steroids, I'm going to be vocal about that. Now, that ruffles the feathers of the person that was apparently guilty of taking steroids, and it creates this tension, this bad blood, if you will, and we kind of get caught in this cycle of talking shit back and forth. I've never sat down with Yoel Romero and had a conversation. I'm sure, by all accounts, he's a very, very nice guy. And if we met under different circumstances, just like a lot of these people that beef with, like Luke Rockhold, I'm sure, listen, I'm really good friends with DC. Daniel Cormier is a fantastic human being, and he classes Luke Rockhold as one of his best friends. So what does that tell me? Either tells me that DC's out of his mind and is a bad judge of character, or, which is probably more likely, that Rockhold is a good guy, but we've just met under circumstances that never allow us to be friends in the first place. Number one, you're not looking to be friends with your opponents. Number two, you're trying to knock each other out. Number three, you're trying to get a psychological advantage. Put all those things together, and personalities don't always blend, then you're going to have problems. Now, going back to Yoel Romero, I've got nothing against the guy. I don't know if he feels the same way about me, or our paths were destined to cross at one point. We had him calling to the radio show that time, and he was kicking off and screaming and shouting, and I asked him to spell steroid and stuff like that. We had a lot of fun. I'm sure that helped generate the bad blood. But if you are listening, Yoel Romero, I love you. I love you, Mike. Yoel.
I'm actually really impressed with your Joey Diaz impression. Might be the best one. So you do a pretty good Yoel. Your Joey's great. Your GSP is unparalleled.
Intoxicated. Recently we had to do impressions on UFC Tonight, and I was kind of pissed off because it was me and Kenny Florian, And Kenny's a great guy, by the way. Kenny is absolutely hilarious, and it's always a fun time working with him. And there was like a segment called Shot Caller, and we had to, we talked about a certain fighter, and when it was my turn, I had to do an impression, and when it was Kenny's, he had to do the impression. I'm sure you can follow. It's not the hardest plot. Anyway, he gets GSP, Nate Diaz, and Conor McGregor. Now, I'm not being funny. They're the easiest impressions to do in all of MMA. So I was kind of pissed off. Right? They're easy, right?
Well, we've heard your GSP. Let's hear your Nate Diaz.
Hey, man, I just go out there, smoke weed, man. I don't know. I can't really do an impression, man. That's what's up. I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
All right. It was.
It's all right. Anyway, whatever. You get.
It wasn't great, Mike.
It wasn't great. Well, you do one.
All right. Let me see. So I just, the only person I really respect is my brother Nick Diaz. Shout out to the 209, smoking weed.
That's what's up. All right. You're gonna sound like
it's just a lot of like fucking grunting.
You're gonna sound like a goat that speaks English. Man. Anyway, you get the idea of the game. And guess who I got given?
Who?
First off, Dominic Cruz.
That's not even, he doesn't have anything about his voice that you could do.
He doesn't have any outlandish characters that you could portray. Exactly. Yeah. I got Dominic Cruz. Who were the other ones? I can't remember. Oh, and also Kenny got Alistair over him. Who's up? He's very easy to intimidate. Impersonate. That sounds like Kermit the Frog, so my apologies, Alistair.
No, Alistair always says like, he throws like an SH in like where it doesn't need to be. He's like, I'm very good friends with Michael Bisping.
Yeah, but that's because he's Dutch. He's smoking the pancake.
There you go. Smoking the pancake.
Smoking the pancake. Anyway, I got Dominic Cruz. Oh, I got Dominic Cruz, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and then someone else. I got the most three generic, bland, vanilla type people ever. By the way, I'm talking about their voices, not personalities or people. Before you all get your knickers in a twist. But anyway, I digress. What were we talking about? Yoel Romero.
Yoel.
Was it?
Yeah. That was a nice little that was a nice little ADD journey down the minds of Luis Gomez and Michael Bisping. Yoel Romero, I think officially booked, right? Is that officially for UFC 225? No, not official.
Robert Whittaker.
Rumored?
I don't know if it's official. I've seen it reported on several websites. Generally, when you see things reported on websites, and I know this is going to come as a big shocker, it generally means that they're true. That's why they get reported, Michael. The point what I'm making is that when these things break unofficially, because what happens is UFC calls someone. Let's say me, for example. Mike, yo, what's up, Mike? It's Dana fucking White, bro. We're going to fight for you. That's what Dana White is terrible. But he'll say, Mike, you versus whoever. Don't tell anyone, though, because we want to announce it. So I'll say, okay, I won't announce it. But, of course, they've got to tell the opponent. So the opponent, they'll say, don't say anything, bro. And he won't say anything either. But on top of that, I call my coaches. And I'll say, yo, 10 weeks, I'm fighting such and such. And let's say Luke Rockhold or Yoel, whoever, they tell their coaches. And their coaches tell their wives. And before you know it, it's got out and everybody knows. You know what I mean? So if the websites are reporting that it's Yoel versus Robert Whittaker, which isn't really big news because we know that fight's happening anyway, then I think it's safe to say that is a surefire bet.
I guess Yoel also said it on Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday, so he let the cat out of the bag himself.
There you go.
You're the only guy, and you do this all the time. You come to the show and you'll be like, "Oh, I got this fight," and you'll tell us, and then you are very strict about not letting them know, and you let. But I watch guys all the time just fucking say it like it's nothing. They tweet it out. They don't give a shit. You need to fucking be.
Well, you have to respect the process, though, because at the end of the day, the UFC are trying to promote things to the fullest, and they want to promote things with a bang. If it's going to be a big fight, they want it. They want, all right, maybe some hardcore people know about it, some people on the inside might know about it, but the general masses, they want to divulge it at a press conference. They want to make a big splash, and people go, whoa, shit, we didn't see that one coming, and then it makes a lot of press. It gets a lot of headlines, and a lot of people find out about the fight. If it just gets organically released, it doesn't have quite the same impact. And I try and respect that because you want, as a fighter, all your fight cards to do good business because it reflects on you. Okay, so Yoel versus Rockhold. Do you want the Michael Bisping, believe you me, big brown breakdown?
I don't think it's the Big Brown Breakdown anymore. It's now Below the Belt,
Below
right?
the Belt.
Which I don't want to, I will say I did have a show on Sirius XM.
Say it. Don't say and then backtrack.
I'm not
Just say what was
backtracking.
on your mind, Lewis. Don't be a little bitch.
I had a show on Sirius XM a couple years ago before the countdown, precursor to the countdown, called Believe You Me with Louis J. Gomez.
You did really?
Not Believe You Me. I'm sorry. God, I'm dumb.
I'm gonna say no, you didn't.
No,
you had
Below the Belt.
Below the Belt.
Below the Belt, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. I don't know where to go with that information. No. So what are you saying? Are you saying that he's copied?
No, I'm saying that neither of us are that creative.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
All right, real quick, let's get back to Mattress Firm. Let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? Everyone knows how important stretching is before an event, and so does Mattress Firm, except it's your dollar. Your budget stretches further when you're shopping at America's neighborhood mattress store. It's a true home run, and you will have a ball.
They're the head coaches when it comes to mattress expertise. But know this, they're more than just mattress experts. They have a game plan that helps you transform your mattress into a bed. From adjustable bases and sheets to headboards and bedroom decor. They have you literally and figuratively covered up like your favorite cornerback.
So go to mattressfirm.com/podcast and see what deals are happening as I read the sentence to you. They even offer you a 120-night sleep trial to ensure perfection and a 120-night low price guarantee so you know you paid the perfect price.
Talk about a 1-2 punch. A knockout, if you will. Score big with the perfect bed. Head to mattressfirm.com/podcast to get the play-by-play on how you can monumentally improve your sleep today, tonight, and tomorrow.
All right, let's get back into it.
All right, so breakdown time. Yoel Romero versus Robert Whittaker. You know, it's funny because I haven't seen the podcast with Yoel on Joe Rogan or whatever, but I saw some headlines that he was saying that he was training with John Jones recently, and John Jones taught him some things about when to explode them. He said, you can't always go because you get tired. Now, of course, that seems like a good excuse for somebody that gasses. You know, it seems like a good thing to say. But in that Rockhold fight, the one we just saw, he was much more patient. He did seem to be taking his time. I thought that was because he had a shitty weight cut and he thought he'd be having a problem going 5 rounds. But he was definitely much more measured. Now, against Robert Whittaker, they fought already. It was a decision. It was a close fight. I thought Whittaker definitely won. In the 5th round, Romero was very gassed. He led on the floor, and that was kind of him giving up. I'm not saying that was a bitch move. I'm saying he was exhausted. When you do 5 rounds at a high pace, it's very, very hard, and his body couldn't take anymore. Now, in the rematch, I think in that first fight, he thought he was going to go out there, out-wrestle Robert Whittaker, because Australians, if I'm honest, aren't known for the wrestling, just like English aren't known for the wrestling. I'm not trying to piss on Australia. You know, pretty much most of the Commonwealth countries aren't good at wrestling. So he probably thought in my mind, okay, take this punk down, ground and pound him, whatever. But that didn't work out. Robert Whittaker's takedown defense was fantastic. It was stellar. When he did get taken down, he got right back to his feet every time. And I was thoroughly impressed. Now in this rematch, he's going to know, well, hold on a minute. There's no point trying to play that game because I tried it and I failed. So I think this time we're going to see a much more measured Yoel Romero, as he said on the Joe Rogan podcast. And I think we're going to see less takedown attempts, more striking. And I think that makes Yoel more dangerous because he is very, very explosive. Boxing-wise on the feet, Whittaker is better. He's better stylistically. He's better technically. I think he's not as explosive, but he's got better conditioning. He's got all-round better boxing. But Romero has the bigger power. And if he connects, it can be lights out for anybody. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I actually lean towards Romero in the rematch.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. I think Romero, he has, when you have a guy that has that much athleticism, we've watched him knock out dude after dude after dude. The problem is if you fight him more than once, there's always a chance you're going to get knocked out. And then the reality is, like, I don't know, when you just get a guy that's that athletic, I just feel like they learn more. Am I crazy to say this? A guy that's like that athletic, he's like a super freak athlete. He almost can learn more. Like his body takes more from that last fight and comes back to it and like adjusts in a different way. I don't know. He's a fucking
that was
freak.
A nice way. That was a nice way to repeat what Yoel Romero said on the Joe Rogan podcast and take credit for it. So well done to you, Lewis. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I don't. What do you say?
Oh, no, that's what he said. He said that loss was one of the best things that happened to him because he learned so much. And I thought you were just rehashing that and trying to take credit, which, good for you. I still think you were. You're just pretending you didn't know that. That was the headlines during the round. But you got to remember this. Yoel is not a spring chicken, and Whittaker is. You could argue that he just fought, though, so he's had one extra fight in between. Romero, he just fought Rockhold, and Whittaker was injured. I don't know. It's an interesting fight. I think it's a little unfair to say that I think Whittaker will lose because he beat the guy fair and square, and he beat him with one leg. Romero injured his leg in that first round of the first fight. So, yeah, I don't mean any disrespect because I love watching Robert Whittaker fight. He's very, very good to watch, and he's getting better all the time as well. So I don't know. What do I know? But if you ask me to make a bet right here, right now, I'll probably lean towards Romero in the rematch.
Do you feel like I feel like the UFC really wants Romero. They want to push him.
Well, to be honest, you could understand why they would. He's a marketer's dream. He looks good. He's super explosive. He looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle without the shell. And he, I don't know. Yeah, I think he's very marketable. Obviously, there's a massive, what is the expression I'm looking for? Latino community in America. Is that the expression I'm looking for?
Yeah, you're probably thinking of something more racist, but it's fine.
I never think of anything racist. Why would you put that out there? Why would you say Michael Bisping is texting me racist things when I'm not?
Let me check my phone now because now I feel like you are.
No, I'm definitely not. So anyway, so there you go.
I've never heard you call him a teenage mutant. That's really funny, though.
At the end of the day, when you knock people out and you win fights, you're going to continue to get put in big fights. That's the reason. I don't think it's a case of UFC pushing him. If Rockhold had won that fight, it would be Rockhold facing Whittaker. But he didn't. Rockhold got knocked out cold. Pardon me, too much coffee. No, Rockhold got knocked out cold in the third round. Rockhold got knocked out cold in the third round. It's just a sentence I like to say. Sorry, Luke. So that's why Romero's getting pushed, because it is the fight to make. They are, as much as it stings me to say this right now, the premier middleweights in the fucking world, dickheads.
Speaking of Rockhold, did you see that he's popping shit? He really wants to fight you. He said that if you beat him, if you guys fight again in the third fight, if you beat him, he will retire. So if you take this fight, this is like old school WWF, right? It's a loser leaves town match because this is your last fight. You got one more fight possibly, you've said, okay? And he said if you beat him, he will fucking retire. Is that at all any more motivation for you? Because in my opinion, that is the fucking greatest scenario ever. If you beat him and then you both retire, you force him into retirement.
Well, it is very attractive. It certainly is. And it's certainly something that has made me ponder that fight a little more. Of course, he's chatting shit. I think he's just been at it again, hasn't he? He just posted some picture today or something with him standing over me, talking some shit. Listen, I already fought Luke Rockhold twice. The last time I beat him in such dominant fashion, you can't really top that. Now, of course, one could argue that that's a bit of a bitch move, that you're not willing to put it on the line again, which of course I am. But honestly, I don't know if I am going to fight again. I was going to fight in London, which is happening this weekend. I get on a plane tomorrow. I finish filming tomorrow night on MacGyver, and I go immediately to the airport, fly to London, land at 10 a.m. local time. From there, I go straight to a press conference. Apparently, I can't even have a shower, which is kind of troubling me somewhat. I have to go into a toilet and have a little wash. But I'm going to be there at the fights this weekend. But the point I was saying is I was supposed to fight, but we couldn't get the deal done. Now that's giving me more time to reflect. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. If a deal comes my way that is good enough, and by the way, I'm not saying that as an insult to the UFC. They've got to run their business, and I understand that, and I've got to run mine. And if it's mutually beneficial to all parties included, then I will fight. But if it's not, then I'm happy with the way things were.
Well, that's like, I mean, as marketable as a fight as ever, right? First of all, rematches in general, hugely marketable. They always do huge numbers. That's like a historical fact with mixed martial arts and boxing. The third fight, trilogy fight, you guys split them. This is the rubber match. Fucking huge. Both of you guys, you just lost the championship. He's a former champion. Huge. Major fucking grudge match. You guys have talked so much shit. The intro for this show is you fucking making him look like a chump at a press conference. So yeah, everyone in the world would want to see that fight. I want to see that fight.
Yeah, okay. Well, it sounds like you're trying to talk me into it, but I don't know. Listen, I mean, I've talked about it time and time again. And the reason I say I don't know, it's simply because there's a lot of things going on in my life right now. I'm very busy. And, of course, you've got to want it. And I do want it. I do enjoy it. And I do miss being in fight camp. And I think that's one thing that all athletes have is, the trouble of finally walking away. And I find myself, whenever I speak to athletes and former athletes, I ask them about their transition and stuff because it's something I'm curious about. But for me, when I was younger, fighting was just a way to make money, of course, and I've been somewhat successful in that department. But I'm always scared of letting it go and saying goodbye because once you close the door, you close the door, and you can never go back. And who knows what the future is going to hold? You know what I mean? Maybe it's going to be bright and rosy and all sunshine and rainbows. Maybe I'm going to have some dark fucking days, and I wish I took that one last fight against Luke Rockhold. You know what I'm saying? So it's always it's a tough one. It's a tough one to figure out.
Well, you could technically come back. I mean, isn't Chuck Liddell right now talking about doing a comeback with Bellator?
Yeah, I think so. But then I heard initially that he was going to fight Tito in Bellator. But then, I mean, don't take this with any authority, but I read somewhere on one of these crappy MMA websites as well that it was going to happen, but then in the UFC, but then now I'm hearing in Bellator again. So I don't know. Yeah, but I see the point you're making. I mean, no one has a gun to our head, and we can always come out of retirement if we want. But if I retire, I'd like to be one of those guys that says, thank you very much. I'm not coming back out of retirement in 6 months because I need it. You know what I mean?
Right, of course. I am just sort of throwing it out there as a devil's advocate and sort of.
Sure, I get it. You see that the big fight with Mighty Mouse and TJ Dillashaw may finally be happening?
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't Mighty Mouse just say something about it stalling or something?
What did he say?
Let me see if I can pull up the quote. Look, that's the one fight. I got to be honest with you. It's like Mighty Mouse, he's undoubtedly, maybe pound for pound the best fighter in the world. But for a while now, he's sort of needed to move up and do a super fight and make a name for himself there because nobody cares about the lack of competition at 125 pounds. This is Demetrius Johnson tells Ariel Helwani, TJ Dillashaw fight has gone dormant as of late. I spoke with Dillashaw on Friday, and he said the same. 0 updates. I don't get it. That is still the number one fight I want to see right now. That's from Brett Okamoto.
Yeah, see, that is kind of frustrating because Demetrius Johnson, I'm telling you, he probably is pound for pound the best. I mean, if you look, see, here's the thing. When you look at the way he performs, you think, yeah, he's pound for pound the best, as I just said. But then you look at his opponents, okay? And it's like, I can look fantastic if I'm fighting my daughter. I could do crazy shit. I can pick her up and suplex her and put her in an armbar. I could pull off the sickest submissions if I was doing it against a 12-year-old girl. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that Demetrius's former opponents are like that of a 12-year-old girl. Maybe 15. But you see the point I'm making. They're very, very good fighters. And in fact, some of the guys, I mean, who's he beating? Joseph Benavidez, he's incredible. So some of the competition has been very, very good. But that's always been the classic cliched knock on his career, that the competition hasn't been as good. Then we hear about TJ versus DJ, and everyone's like, wow, okay, here's an opportunity. Here's a scenario where Demetrius Johnson can prove that he can beat somebody like TJ Dillashaw. And that's a fight because another knock has been that he hasn't been a proven draw. He hasn't sold big pay-per-views. And I don't think that's Demetrius's fault. I think that's more to do with the fact that is just a trend that we see in combat sports. You know what I mean? Super lightweight classes like that. They've always had a tough time drawing at the box office.
Yeah.
You know? If I'm mistaken, I apologize. But I think that's true. You know, so him against TJ, I mean, that's an interesting fight. That's a fight that really gets people, you know, to sit up, take notice, and give him respect.
Well,
and potentially earn them both a lot of money.
Well, how do you even sell it though? Like, you know, even if people could look, you know, I think that Connor's 145 pounds. So is there really that much of a difference between 145 pound and 125 pounds? To the naked eye, not really. Like, they're just a fucking dude on the screen, right? But the problem is, there's no Ray Borg, you know, Wilson Hayes, Tim Elliott, Henry Cejudo. These guys are people. I'm a huge fan of this sport. If they walked past me on the street, I wouldn't notice it. I would have no idea.
Well, exactly. You need fantastic opponents. You need opponents that bring out the best in you. You need opponents that can give you a good run for your money. And some of those people have. Some of those people have given him a really good run for the money. And some of them he's completely wiped out. I mean, Henry Cejudo, there's a guy that's incredible. And Demetrius did make it look easy work. Easy work, you know. So what I was saying, obviously I was only having a bit of fun, but, you know, You've got to give DJ his credit. He is incredible. He's always looking for the finish. He's exciting. He really is. But you're right. The competition, as you said, unless you were a hardcore MMA fan, you wouldn't know who the hell they were if you walked past them. I'll be honest, some of those guys I wouldn't recognize. You know, and I live and breathe mixed martial arts. And I wouldn't. If some of those guys walked past me in the street, unless I was, I wouldn't know. Give me one of his foot. Ray Borg, I'm sorry. I don't know what he looks like.
No
Wilson
idea.
Hayes. I don't know what he looks like. Who's some others? Yeah, but there you go. You know, Wilson Hayes is crying himself to sleep tonight. He's like, I was the biggest Michael Bisping fan ever. But I'm sorry, Wilson. I have no idea. Pal.
But that's a problem with the average fan who's like watching this, and they need to be able to connect the dots, and they need to be able to, you know, they need to be able to see a person who's challenging for the title kick ass over and over and over again in their mind. They need to be able to kind of mentally go through that motion and go, oh, this guy's a fucking bad motherfucker. And because it's not that these guys aren't incredible fighters. They truly are the best in the world, but they're not. The weight class itself is a lot younger than all the other weight classes. Mm-hmm. These guys just aren't established in the minds of the fans, so nobody gets excited. It doesn't seem like it's this big, crazy fight. There's fights that are at higher weight classes with guys that have just been around for longer that people get much more excited about, even though the skill set of these guys it pales in the comparison of Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other problems with Demetrius, and by the way, I'm not saying that you have to be a shit talker or anything like that. You don't have to be. But his personality is very good, by the way. He's a funny guy. But his public persona, he won't go out there and put himself on a limb. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying he won't go out there and talk shit. I told this story before, but we fought on a car together, UFC 186. He fought, I believe it was Kyoji Haraguchi. I fought CB Dollaway. And we did a media luncheon at a restaurant in downtown Los Angeles. Tons of media there, and you know my typical thing. I'm there saying I'm going to beat CB Dollaway. I'm the better guy. Blah 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 blah. Now, when I say that, I believe it. I'm not saying it's trying to quote Nick Diaz. I'm not trying to sell wolf tickets. I'm not trying to convince everyone I'm good. I'm saying it because I believe I'm good. I believe, and I'm certainly going to try to go out there and put on a hell of a show and give people something to watch. Give them what they paid to see. And I want to get them excited for it, and I want to build excitement. And of course, your opponent says the same thing, and then people go, oh shit, this is going to be a good fight. Don't want to miss this one. That's all part of it. Now, Demetrius was there, and God knows how many title defenses it was back then. And by the way, I'm not bitching about Demetrius. Great guy. This is just an observation, and maybe it's an interesting character trait of Demetrius. You know, I'm not saying this is a negative, but he wouldn't even go out and say that he was going to win that fight. He said, no, I'm not going to say it. And I said, because they were asking Demetrius, I chirped up and I said, come on, Demetrius, you can't sit on the fence. You've got to say whether or not you think you're going to win or lose. He said, no, I'm not going to say that. I said, why not? He said, because then I look stupid if I lose. I said, well, of course you do, but that's the whole point of it. That's the risk you take.
You're
that's
stupid anyway.
You roll the dice. That's the whole fucking point of it. We can all lose. I'm sitting here and saying, I think I'm going to win. And I'm willing to put my balls on the chopping block. And if I lose, yeah, I look like a bit of an idiot. I encourage internet keyboard warriors to talk shit on my Instagram page and whatever. But that's the price you pay, and that's the risk I'm willing to take. And he doesn't do that. You know, I think maybe he's come out of his shell a little bit lately because that fight was a few years ago. But, you know, I think that hasn't helped him either. Now, of course, I'm not saying you have to be an arrogant piece of shit and walk around disrespecting your opponents, but a little more confidence, you know, would go a long way in the public's perception.
Yeah, I think that's a very bizarre line to draw. I think if you get knocked out or choked out unconscious, you look a little stupider than calling yourself the winner of the fight beforehand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. If if you get knocked out cold, choked out unconscious before the world, yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. If after the fact some dude that you've never met leaves a nasty tweet going, you look like an idiot. I thought you said you were going to knock him out in the second round. So fucking what? Everyone knows what happened. It's no big deal, you know. So, but yeah, that always stuck with me. I always remembered that. I always thought that was really curious, you know. And maybe that's the good thing. Maybe it's you know, maybe I'm the one that's in the wrong, you know. But for me, you know, if I'm going to fight someone, I've got the balls to say I think I'm going to win. Not that I'm saying that I always think I'm going to win. You know, of course, you like to believe you're always going to win. The point is that you don't only take fights that you think you're going to win. You know what I mean? I've gone into many fights where I think, fuck, this is a tough fight, but you know what? I'm going to go for it. So therefore, I think I'm going to win. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, there's almost like a nerdy quality to Demetrius Johnson. Like, I'd love to know if because I know he's like a gamer and you know, he does have like a very nice guy quality. So maybe he just doesn't want to be wrong. Maybe that's like a personality trait where, you know, and I remember that in like the 6th grade, there was this kid in my class who got like a 97 on a French test in like 7th grade or something. And he started crying. And it was very, like, everyone was like, what a fucking weirdo. But it was just so important for this kid to just have 100 and to just be right every single time. He was such a perfectionist. So, kind of an interesting.
You know, where was he from?
The Ukraine.
Oh, I was going to say, was he Asian? Because he's got his dad at home waiting with the belt who's going to whip the fuck out of him. And you're laughing at him for crying.
They drowned his little sister in a lake.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh. You know, you're laughing. He's like, oh, shit, my dad is going to kill me.
Yeah. Did you see the commercial? It's one of the cringiest things on earth, the Demetrius Johnson and it's the Metro Piece. Oh, I hate it.
Oh, I hate it as well. But I don't like that advert. But then who is it? My wife. She thinks it's hilarious.
No.
Well, all right, sorry. Hilarious is a strong word. She finds it amusing. So maybe I'm just in the wrong or maybe you're in the wrong. But yeah, my wife finds it amusing. And she's got a great sense of humor because she finds me very fucking funny.
Of course she does. All right, real quick, we got to talk about BetDSI, which has been with the show for such a long time. Love BetDSI. You guys love BetDSI. If you like gambling on sports and basically anything else, they have they've set lines on political events, elections, I guess they would be called, right, Mike? How much of an idiot?
Yeah, political events are generally called elections, or unless it's, I don't know, political events involving U.S. politics these days involve porn stars.
That is very true as well.
But, you know, generally it's elections. Yes, carry on.
Yeah, fine. They got everything, dude. If you like any sport, they set lines on everything. It's also a website that you guys know of. BetDSI is the one that you guys have probably heard the name the most, and that's because they're trusted. They've been in business for over 20 years, paying winners. This is the coolest thing of all, okay? We got some fights coming up this weekend, which is going to be UFC Fight Night London. The main event is going to be Volkov versus Werdum. Volkov is a plus 190 underdog. Werdum minus 240 favorite. Bisping, you're the fucking killer when it comes down to the picks. They should do the opposite. What I say, my instinct would be play it safe, go with Werdum. What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. I'm just double checking, but if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Volkov is undefeated. Let me check. Oh no, I'm totally wrong. 29-6, but he is on
just definitely not
big
undefeated
win streak. Yeah, I'm totally wrong. But still, he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight win streak. I think in this fight, yeah, I mean it's. He should be the underdog. But his last win was against Stefan Struve. Before that, he beat Roy Nelson. Before that, he beat Timothy Johnson. So winning this fight isn't something out of the realms of possibility. And if he is the underdog, then putting your money on him will be a good choice. Where do you get that money? Well, if you register with BetDSI.com and use the promo code Me25, is that correct, Lewis? Me25?
Me25 is the code.
$25 for free, and they will give you a 200% bonus match on your money. Also, co-main event, we got Jimmy Manoa taking on Jan Blachowicz. That's a rematch. I would put your money on Jimmy Manoa. Manoa has trained like a beast for this one. So yeah, Jimmy in London. That's a safe bet. As I say, register promo code Me25. Go to betdsi.com. Put in Me25. Get your $25. And if you put a flutter down, you put some extra money down, you will triple your dough. So put in $50. It'll turn into 150, and so on and so forth. So go to betdsi.com. Use the promo code Me25. Make yourself some money.
All right, let's get back into the show. Real quick before because I know we have to do some questions soon, somewhat soon. I wanted to just touch on.
I'm just getting started, Lewis. I ordered coffee from the hotel, and it finally came, a large pot of coffee at that. And I'm just getting charged up, Lewis. Don't say we're going to hang up soon, because I'm ready to talk, my friend. I'm ready to fucking go. And by the way, I did put a complaint in because the coffee took so long, and the manager said we're going to send a bottle of champagne up. I said, no, you don't need to do that. He said, no, it's okay. And I thought, free bottle of champagne. I said, all right, well, that's very kind. He sent up a bottle of white wine. Now, where I come from, there's a difference between white wine and champagne, but whatever. It's a nice gesture, but I was going to take a bottle of champagne home to my wife, but whatever.
So, long story short, you're about to get hammered on a bottle of white wine.
No, I'm not. No. I've been working out twice a day. I've been running. I love being in a city, because I live in a suburb in Orange County, and it's a beautiful place to live, but there's no mental stimulation. Whenever I'm in a city, I find it very, very easy to run. Every morning I've been getting up early and doing a 4-mile run, and then in the afternoon I'm lifting weights. So I'm working out twice a day right now, trying to really, really get in shape. I'm trying to look the part for some acting projects I've got coming up. But just when you're in a city, I find this in New York or any city I'm in, like when I did Triple X. That was filming in Toronto, and that was what allowed me to fight Luke Rockhold on short notice, because it's a very diverse city. So I would leave my room in the morning, go for a run, and because of all what's going on in a big city, it keeps my brain stimulated, and you're not dreading every step you take. You're not bored out of your mind on a treadmill. You've got mental stimulation. You're watching this, you're watching that, and I enjoy doing it, So, yeah, people, if you live in a city, I don't know why you're running on treadmills.
Yeah, well, I think it's also the grass is always greener, because I like running. Like, you live up in California. I would love to run through the fucking mountains with a dog and, just get lost on trails, running through New York City when you're smelling smog and homeless people are throwing shit at you and you have to, dodge bullets.
But there isn't trails and everything right outside my house, and I don't want to have to get into a car and drive half an hour. That defeats the purpose. That makes it a pain in the ass. I want to get out of bed, quick coffee, go run, come back, get dressed, showered, breakfast, and go about my day. I don't have to get in the car. I mean, I could go find some trails and things like that, but that's a whole thing. That's a pain in the ass, As I say, coffee, run, go, let's do this. Run outside, look at the homeless person throwing up, look at people crossing road. Nearly get run over a few times. I do typically nearly get run over a few times when I run through a city, but that's part of the fun as well.
Yeah. I'm back. I'm back in the gym now too. Hard. I went back in yesterday.
I noticed.
You saw my story?
I saw, the people on Instagram that get on your nerves. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of them out there.
You're about to start
I've noticed
shit?
that you're doing those posts as well.
Are you
are doing?
Are you saying that I'm one of the guys that get on your nerves?
Well, you posted your whole workout, and then you put, yeah, boy, and listen, I do it sometimes as well.
You're that guy.
I'm not that guy. I've done it, I think, twice in my life.
Bullshit.
Only on a story. I think yours was on a main post.
Nope. Only on a story. That's my rule.
Let me check.
That is the rule. That's the new Believe You Me rule. You can post gym selfies. It can only be on a story. If you post it on your regular thing, you're a fucking bitch.
I know, but here's the thing, and I guess this is a massive bombshell. I have to post certain things because I have obligations to sponsors. You know what I mean? Now, whilst I'm very proud to represent these companies, I do have to do it in a forum where people can see it, So I do have to do the occasional thing like that to say thank you to Sanibel, or thank you to Reebok, thank you to My Protein. And I do that through love and joy, not purely through the sense of obligation. I do it because I'm very, very proud to be part of their teams.
You should thank my protein.
You just do it for pure vanity.
Boom.
Vanity, my friend, which is, if I'm not mistaken, one of the seven deadly sins.
I don't think vanity is one of the 7 deadly sins, is it?
I don't know.
Gluttony.
Is it?
What are the 7 deadly sins, Shannon? Pull them up.
Vanity,
Shannon looks,
I think, is one of them.
I wish we were doing a video one today. Shannon's really hot today. She's doing the show in a thong. That's it.
Guys, we apologize. Next week we will be back. 7 deadly sins, Shannon, go.
Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride. So, oh yeah.
You're guilty of all 7.
Why on earth is pride a deadly sin? Being proud.
Saying gay pride.
No, but I'm a very proud man, and I think that's an endearing quality to be proud of what you do. Or do they mean boastful pride?
I guess it's kind of like being braggadocious or whatever. What was that?
What else? Sloth. I don't think that should be a deadly sin. Listen, if you're a lazy bastard, fair enough. You're not achieving what you could be achieving. But let's not kill the guy. You know what I mean? The death sentence for being a slovenly bastard shouldn't be. There shouldn't be the death sentence.
Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride. That's describing you between fight camps.
Go on. Lust. What is it?
Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride.
Sure. Sloth, wrath. All right. Envy, pride. Well, there's no envy in it. I'm not envious of anybody. I'm very happy doing me. But yeah, I'm very proud. I'm not slovenly, although I have my moments. Yeah. It just shows that Bible's out of his fucking mind.
Yeah. What are you going to do? What's it called? I was going to ask you about CM Punk. He's coming back, apparently. Your good old friend CM Punk.
Get excited.
The challenge of the century that you refuse to accept. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fighting.
I don't know. Does he have an official opponent? No, he just teases it, right? He said it on social media. Harrington, what do you say? No, not on mic, Harrington. I want you to say it to me off mic. He wants to be on mic so bad. Forget it.
He wants to what?
Harrington wants to be on microphone so badly. It's just
Harrington, get on the microphone. I insist. Ooh. I want to hear your thoughts on the microphone. I'm even though it's his studio, I'm overruling Lewis.
He knows he can do that too, and it makes me so fucking angry.
Nothing makes me happier. All right, so a fan asked CM Punk, when's the next time I'm going to get to see you cry in the UFC octagon? Punk responded...
Aren't people assholes? Sorry, go ahead.
Punk responded, June 9th, after I win and lock eyes with my beautiful wife, embrace my coaches, and shout out my entire team.
Harrington, drink some water, you cottonmouth asshole. Listen to your fucking clicky mouth. It's gross.
Hey.
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm trying to look out for the show.
Can I tell you something?
What?
I know exactly who he's fighting.
No.
Oh, I do.
Drop it on the show. Who cares? Break the rules for once, Mike.
Drop it on the show. It goes back to what we just said before, right? Circles of trust. I'm in some circles of trust. I'm probably the skin of my teeth getting kicked out of those circles as we speak. You know what I mean? But yeah, I can't do it. But
text me.
I know who he's fighting.
Text me.
He's in the UFC.
I know it's in the UFC. It's gonna be. You know what? You want to know my prediction?
Go on.
It's gonna be somebody that nobody really gives a shit about. It's gonna be a person that's a fighter that doesn't have a crazy record. It's not gonna be a crazy big story.
What you're talking about, the guy that's only had one MMA fight in his life, he's coming back for the second MMA fight in his life, and they're not going to give him Anderson Silva? You might be right.
Well, look, there's also rumors about Mayweather. There's all these crazy rumors that go floating about.
Oh, yeah. Is that Mayweather? Did you see that Tyron Woodley said that he's going to be training Mayweather for MMA? Did you see that?
Racist.
Yeah, they all stick together. No. Yeah, he said that. He said, in fact, let me bring it up. He said some very strange quote about how he could take 2 weeks for the kicks and 3 weeks for the wrestling and all this type of stuff. Hold on, let me find. You didn't see this?
No, I didn't see anything. I know that he said something about Mayweather being able to beat most people in the UFC or whatever.
Yeah.
That quote.
Yeah, no. The story I was looking for has gone off the front page, and I'm not going to Google it.
Harrington, that's what we had Harrington
he was saying that, he's going to be training Floyd Mayweather, and he believes he's going to be fighting in the UFC. Now, once again, I don't know if that's true or not, but Tyron did say it. So that would, if we believe Tyron Woodley, which I'm not saying there's a reason to disbelieve him, but if we were to take that on face value, that would appear to me to mean that he's fighting in the UFC because he's got a fucking training for it. Now, call me Sherlock Holmes, but either Tyron Woodley's full of shit or he's fighting in the UFC.
I think Mayweather sort of does what he wants.
If you want to earn your wages, Google it. You should be Googling it and chiming in right now.
He's smashing his keyboard with his fat fingers right now. It's just not happening. He's getting nervous. As soon as you addressed him, he started getting nervous and sweating. By the way, we'll give him a plug. If you guys like this, if you like Harrington's shitty voice, he has got a podcast called Hammer Fisting available as well on the Gas Digital Network.
If you like shitty voice, oh, that's funny. Shannon, do you have a podcast?
I do, actually. Not on the network, though. It's called The Thing Is.
Oh, look at you little rebel. What is it called?
The Thing Is. It's a relationship podcast.
Why aren't you on the thing is because Gas Digital is screwing you over as well?
That's right, yes. No, I don't have a lot of, it's just a hobby. Something for fun.
See, because you have no confidence. That's why you're not on the network, Shannon. If you come in with a little bit of confidence, we might give you an opportunity.
I'm getting there. I'm raising my listeners.
She's calling it a hobby. Mike, imagine you did that. Imagine you walked into the UFC.
Everybody listening that likes to see Shannon and likes to hear from Shannon. Shannon, this is your opportunity. What is it called one more time?
It's called The Thing Is. It's a relationship podcast. We have comedians on. It's a lot of fun.
All right, check it out, people. All right, so I don't know. How long have we been going, Louis? Should we do some questions or should we talk about
let's
Hook Up and what's his face? Roy Nelson.
I don't really give a shit about that. If you want to talk about it, you could address it.
Not really.
We made a commitment to the Believe You Me fans a long time ago, and I'll take a moment to plug stuff right now before we get into some questions. But we made a commitment to the fan base that we would never fake it. If we weren't interested in a topic or a fight, we wouldn't sit here and just start yammering about it for the sake of doing it. And we're going to stick to that.
Yeah, because the case in point was we were covering on a Monday morning, we were talking about a fight that was coming up. And I was like, oh, God, we're doing it just for the sake of it. I wasn't excited. The fight wasn't enthralling, particularly, no disrespect to whoever it was. And then we said, you know what, fuck it. Let's just talk about whatever it was we wanted to. So, all right. So, we won't discuss that topic. So plug away, my friend.
All right. If you guys love the show. Okay, you noticed that the latest 10 episodes are available on iTunes and Google Play. You should know that we do the show, for the most part, live every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. You can watch the show. The video version of this show is available for free every Monday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on gasdigitalnetwork.com/believe. Tune in live. We have guests sometimes. It's usually just me and Mike, but it's a great show. If you guys have been listening this much, you know that much. So do that. And also, if you guys really love the show, you should know that every episode we've ever done is available on demand whenever you guys want it. If you guys become a subscriber, Gas Digital subscribers get every episode we've done on demand, plus ad-free episodes. You get the video versions a day early, so you get them before they go to YouTube. You get the also live chat, message boards, all that good stuff. And there's also 16 shows on the network, including Bruce Buffer's It's Time, Tim Dillon is Going to Hell, Legion of Skanks, Roast Masters, which is the roast battle show that I host at the Stand every week. You get all that for $6 a month. Use the promo code BYM, and you save $1. You get a 14-day free trial. Boom. And you know what?
No.
Go to iTunes right now, motherfuckers, and leave us a positive review. Leave us a positive review, 5-star ranking. Let your fucking friends know about the show. You reviewing the show and telling people about it is the absolute most important thing that you guys could do. So make sure you guys do that.
I gotta cut you off right there, Lewis, because before we lose all our listeners, I mean, I appreciate you got to plug it. You did it very well, but I feel like this is an extended plug. We need to put a limit on the plugging. We need to give it like you got 45 seconds, Lewis. Go. You know what I mean?
If you want, I can do it in 45 seconds, Mike. But I'm trying to give an impassioned plug to let them know everything they get.
Well, there is a lot that they get, so it is impossible to do it in 45 seconds. I retract my statement.
That was easy.
I take you back. All right, question 1. Let's go.
All right, let's get these questions. And if you want to join the conversation, you guys can. You guys can join the conversation by shooting us an email at bym@gasdigital.com. at gasdigitalnetwork.com, BYM at gasdigitalnetwork.com, BYM for Believe You Me. We read a few questions at the end of every show every single week. So this is from Austin, a guy named Austin. He says, with the last two pay-per-views not being great as far as star power, do you think this is a long-term result of overbooking previous cards with multiple title fights and overwhelming stars? I ask this because UFC 226 has the potential for 3 title fights, which can be problematic for future cards. Thanks. Cheers.
This does seem to be a topic of conversation that, you know, when I'm cruising the message boards, the forums, people like to bring up and talk about. It's a tricky one. I mean, at the end of the day, the problem is, not the problem, but the scenario or the facts is that a lot of the household names in mixed martial arts that we all, when we got into this sport, we followed and we enjoyed, they're all coming to the end of their careers. You know what I mean? So there's new blood coming through. And even though you're familiar with them, you're not necessarily looking in them and holding them in that same reverence that you hold some of the old school guys. And I was talking about this on UFC Tonight a while ago. They were saying, what's your prediction for 2018? I said 2018, we're going to see a lot of the household names that were once upon a time champions, but still now capable of headlining shows, you know, FS1 shows and things like that. They're all going to be retired. At the end of this year, we're going to have guys like myself, Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida, Anderson Silva, Vito Belfort, who's some others, Nogueira, Quinton Rampage Jackson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, there is other people, a lot of others, but they're just the first few that comes to mind. And when we sat down and did it, there was a lot of people this year that's going to retire. Or maybe not this year, maybe this year, next year, you know, but they're at the end of their careers. They've had long careers. They used to be a champion. Now they're not necessarily pay-per-view stars, but they still hold value to, to consumers. That said, there's new blood coming through all the time, you know, and, you know, people like to talk shit. And, yeah, okay, maybe some of the star power hasn't been the best, but, you know, I mean, it's hard. I mean, there is a lot of fights these days. There is a lot of fights, and there's only so many weight categories. Not every single card can be, can't be a UFC 217. And what I mean by that is 3 title fights on with a ridiculous undercard. People like to talk a lot, the journalists I mean, about, you know, Conor McGregor not being around. Conor's going to be back sometime this year. If you follow him on Instagram, he's training again. Ronda's done. You know, she said today or yesterday, she said on the Ellen show that she said going back to MMA is probably just as likely as her going back to Olympic judo. So I think that means she's never going to fight again. I mean, it's the changing of the guard, to use a cliched expression. But, you know, this is what happens. I think years ago, people used to say, to Dana, I was in a press conference and they were like, well, what are you going to do when Chuck Liddell retires or whatever? There's always the next guy. There's always the new guy. You know what I mean? And you'll go through a hot spot and then maybe it mellows a little bit. You know, everything goes in cycles. You know, so if people are bitching about stuff like that, you know, it's not going to be long. I mean, we've got DC fighting Stipe coming up. We've got Khabib versus Tony. Obviously, Conor's coming back this year. There's new stars coming through all the time, you know. So I think people just like to look and analyze things and bitch a little bit. You know, if you don't want to pay for the card, you know, don't buy it. If you do, you enjoy what you see and someone catches your attention, then buy it. I mean, really, that's not my business, you know, and I can't really say it better than that, really. What's your take, Lewis?
Well, and the other thing that the UFC has done as well is they've sort of bought out, I don't want to say, you know, bought out to, I guess, a negative connotation, but they've created their own minor league within the UFC. So that we have fight nights, we have, you know, the preliminary cards. It's the UFC's roster is probably 3 times the size it was when I got into the sport, and they have 3 times the amount of fights. So when you look at it, you know, but the perception is, holy shit, every card back in the day used to be front to back. Oh my God, holy fuck, everyone's a star. They still have as many stars. The truth is there's just more fights happening, and they're branded UFC now, whereas before, to get that many fights, you had to go elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a fantastic point. I think there used to be, but I don't know, when I first got involved with mixed martial arts, you know, as you say, I think it was like 6 or 7, maybe more, maybe less, but it was, you know, I'm not a million miles away. So that meant you could have a title fight. You could have a Chuck Liddell or a Tito Ortiz or a Randy Couture, someone like that on every single card at the top of the bill. As you say, so many fights these days. Now, people like to put a negative connotation on that and say they've oversaturated the market. But I don't think that's necessarily true because it's supply and demand and people are watching these events and it's building the stars. I mean, as you said, you do have the Fight Pass prelims now. Go well on them, then you get on the Fox prelims. You do well on there. You get on the FS1 prelim headliner, which is actually these days kind of a prestigious spot to have on the event.
Yeah.
And then from there, of course, you got the UFC pay-per-views and so on and so forth. So there is, as you say, I've never thought of it like that though, Lewis. That is that's a wise observation. But yeah, it kind of is a feeder league, if you will. But yeah, but listen, people like to bitch on everything. If you want, buy it. If you don't, then don't. So yeah, there we go.
Next question.
Next question.
Hello, Lewis and Michael. This is a strange question. Your podcast is absolutely fantastic. I actually look forward to Mondays now. Thank you very much. My question is, would either of you do panto? I could see you both doing panto at the beautiful Minack Theater in beautiful Cornwall. Keep up the great work, lads. Dave from sunny Cornwall in England.
All right, Dave. All right. Do you want me to explain what panto is?
He sent pictures, and it looks like a big old stone theater.
Well, panto is short for pantomime. Do you know what pantomime is?
Yes, I know what pantomime is.
It's like theatre, you know what I mean? But it's like generally for kids at Christmas. They'll do like Jack and the Beanstalk, and like the actors, like they'll talk to the crowd, and the crowd they say, "What did they say? Oh yes, he is," and everyone goes, "Oh no, he isn't."
Well, pantomime.
Say, he's behind you and shit like that. Now, generally, that is where anyone that had a little bit of celebrity in the UK, that's where they go to die. And they finish off doing pantos at Christmas and this and that. Now, if you're doing panto and you're killing it and you're loving it, I apologize. But that is my takeaway.
Yeah, a pantomime here in the States, it's like a clown that doesn't talk. They wear all black, and they have a white face, and they do I'm stuck in a box, and they have the rope, and
that's called a mime artist.
That's a pantomime.
It's no, that's a mime artist.
Panto.
Right, Google pantomime and mime.
Hold on, Shannon, go.
Pantomime is a dramatic entertainment originating in Roman mime in which performers express meaning through gestures accompanied by music.
Shut up.
The gestures,
yes.
You're right.
So, hold on, am I correct or am I wrong?
Who's right? I don't understand what happened there. I wasn't listening to Shannon.
Shannon, who's correct?
Okay, wait, but there's a British meaning for it also, which is what you're saying. So you guys are both right.
So the British meaning is your weird fucking
theatrical entertainment mainly for children. Yes.
Yeah, it's like a fag in England is a cigarette, and a fag in here is Michael Bisping.
I was like, Jesus Christ! Oh my God, Lewis. Okay, and what did he ask? Listen, Dave from Cornwall. Much love, Cornwall, beautiful part of the country. Used to go on my summer holidays there every single year, down to Fistral Beach, big Fat Willie's Surf Shack, you know the one. But yeah, I'm not looking to do pantomime. A good friend of mine, Alex Reed, he's killing it on the pantomime scene lately. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm filming MacGyver right now, and I have another XXX later in the year, and a few movies coming out. But if that all goes to shit, then maybe I will be looking for some pantomimes. What was I going to say, Lewis?
That was really it about the pantomime stuff.
Yeah. I was trying to Google there, and I was going to quickly Google panto, and when I opened my phone, it flashed up. I did an audition today, and I had to do a New York accent in the audition. I'm not doing it on air.
Oh yeah, you are.
Flashed up. Oh shit.
Go.
Yeah. Hold on. All right. Let me bring up the dialogue. No, I don't know. Oh, I can't do it. I'm not doing it.
We should do an entire episode where you do a New York accent, I'll do a British accent. It'll be fucking great.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, how about this, Mike? Listen, Mike. Why don't I read the last question as a Brit, and you could answer the last question as a New Yorker?
No, because what I had to do is I had to spend many hours last night perfecting those lines. I can't just freestyle it as a New Yorker. I had to work at it. But talking of you doing a British accent, Lewis, and my apologies to any of the believers that were expecting me and Lewis in person live this week in London, because we did say we were going to do a live show. Lewis kind of backed out of it, so there you go.
I did not back out of it.
Lewis's fault. What?
That's just bullshit. You were supposed to have a friend that was supposed to set it up. If I was in charge of setting it up, we would have fucking crushed it. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, Either way, it's not happening. But UFC London this weekend is happening. I get him a flight there tomorrow night, so I'll be there. So looking forward to just being a part of the show and meeting the fantastic UFC fans. So if you're around, come and say hi. Do we have one question to
We
finish
do have one
off
more
the show?
question, and I will say real quick because we got to wrap up after this question. But we are going to do some live stuff very soon. I want to go down to England so badly. So we've talked about doing some live podcasts. We've talked about doing some other stuff. So look out for that. We will be posting that social media. Follow us on Twitter, obviously, at Bisping, at Louis J. Gomez, and at...
I was going to say that we're copying Brendan Schaub, though, because that's what he said. Apparently, on comments on YouTube, someone said, Brendan Schaub said that we're copying because a fighter and a comedian doing a podcast.
No,
and I was
he
like, well,
didn't
hold
say
on. That's ridiculous. If we did a live show, then we'd definitely be copying.
First of all, I've been doing live podcasts. Legion of Skanks has been a live podcast for 5 years. Before Brendan Schaub had ever thought about what a podcast was, I've been doing live podcasts. So nobody's copying anybody. Did he really say that? He didn't say that.
I know. I'm just saying it for the sake of saying it. But what was your question?
Okay, I'll say the question.
No, I'm going to say, did you just ask me something then as I
Oh, no. We could do a fucking live pod. What are you talking about? People do live podcasts. That's crazy.
No, Brendan Schaub owns the rights to live podcast, Lewis. It's as simple as that. Respect the Schaub.
Respect the Schaub. Oh, shit. All right, last question. Here we go. Mike, are you left-handed? Wait, hold on. Mike, are you left-handed orthodox? It looks like you have more dexterity and coordination with your lead hand and leg. What would you think about leading with your dominant hand? By the way, Swedish wrestling is far better than Mike has insinuated. We've had more than a few Olympic gold medalists. Love the podcast. Never get too professional. The shit show is what makes it the greatest of all time. Nearly cry of laughter when Mike shouts at his family for just about anything. Take care, Carl.
Well, thank you, Carl. And I know about as much about Swedish wrestling as I do about Swedish food, which isn't very much. And if you've had gold medals, fucking get over yourself. So what? No one likes a braggadocious bastard. It's one of the 7 deadly sins, being prideful or proud, right?
Yeah.
Question. Yeah, very observant. What was his name, Dave?
Carl.
I want to say Carl. Dave isn't a Swedish name, and Carl, I don't even think this guy's Swedish, if I'm honest. I mean, who's ever met a Swede called Carl?
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, I am left-handed. I stand orthodox, which generally means you would be right-handed. But yeah, I'm very, very left-hand dominant. I do everything with my left hand. And I guess, because people always say that, they say, oh, he's a converted southpaw. And no, I'm not a converted southpaw. Just, I started doing traditional martial arts when I was a kid. And when we had to stand in what they call the fighting stance, which is obviously a boxing stance, that's just the way they told me to stand. I walked in when I was like 8 years old, and he said, put your left foot forward, and that's how you stand. And to be honest, it kind of worked out because my left hand does so much. I mean, I don't throw it nearly as much as my right, and I don't kick with my right nearly as much as my left. Everything is my left. I'm left-handed, left-footed, just everything. So, but yeah, it's interesting. I think that was just not ignorance. They didn't ask when I was a kid saying, which handed are you? They just told me to stand like that, and I just developed a style like that. But I like that because the jab is one of the most important weapons in mixed martial arts, and of course left hook Larry is there. He's close to the opponents. I throw a combination. I always finish with a jab when I'm on the bags or on the pads. 1, 2, left hook, right hand, step off, jab. Always step off with the jab. It's a defensive maneuver. If you haven't hurt your opponent and they're following you in, as you step off, boom, stick that jab in the face, they'll stop following you. You can bust people's faces up with the jab. It's pretty good. So I've got a good, powerful jab. Obviously, I'm left-handed. And that's very well spotted of you, Carl. Or perhaps you just read or heard an interview of me one day. And I believe that was a weak question to end on, Lewis.
Mike, what am I supposed to say here? Sometimes they're weak questions. Yeah, I can't make them ask great questions.
Add something to it. You know what I mean?
Okay, and then he also said, fucking...
Basically, the question was, Mike, are you left-handed? And I went, yeah. I mean, how much can I elaborate? I did a pretty professional job of elaborating of whether or not Carl asked me if I was left-handed.
Look, blame
Shannon.
Harrington.
Shannon, are you right-handed?
I am, yes.
Shannon, do you do everything with your right hand?
Yes.
Everything?
Everything.
Great question. Hey, Lewis, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Right-handed?
Yes, I am, but I don't do everything with my right hand.
You could have elaborated a bit more for the sake of the podcast, bro.
Yeah,
What do you do with your left hand?
I jerk off with my left hand. I really do.
That's weird because I'm left-handed, but
And you jerk off with my left hand?
yeah, with your left hand.
Ah, damn it! I meant I jerk off. God damn it! I'm the gay guy in that one.
What was the last part of Carl's question?
What was the last part of Carl's question?
You said he also asked something else.
Oh no, he didn't really. I was gonna improvise, but I wasn't quick enough.
All right. Well, I guess that's the end of the show. I need to pee anyway. I've drank a lot of coffee. I'm going to go for the said run around the city. Then I'm going to lift some weights, stay in shape and all that.
Yeah,
I fly to London. If I see you around, come say hi. Thanks for tuning in. Shannon, Lewis. I would say Harrington, but I don't mean it. Thank you very much. Until next week. Thank you. Put you off right there, Lewis, because before we lose all our listeners, I mean, I appreciate you got to plug it. You did it very well, but I feel like this is an extended plug. We need to put a limit on the plugging. We need to give it like you got 45 seconds, Lewis. Go. You know what I mean?
If you want, I can do it in 45 seconds, Mike. But I'm trying to give an impassioned plug to let them know everything they get.
Well, there is a lot that they get, so it is impossible to do it in 45 seconds. I retract my statement.
That was easy.
I take you back. All right, question 1. Let's go.
All right, let's get these questions. And if you want to join the conversation, you guys can. Yeah, you guys can join the conversation by shooting us an email at bym@gasdigitalnetwork.com. bym@gasdigitalnetwork.com. BYM for Believe You Me. We read a few questions at the end of every show every single week. So this is from Austin, a guy named Austin. He says, with the last 2 pay-per-views not being great as far as star power, do you think this is a long-term result of overbooking previous cards with multiple title fights and overwhelming stars? I ask this because UFC 226 has the potential for 3 title fights, which can be problematic for future cards. Thanks. Cheers.
This does seem to be a topic of conversation that, when I'm cruising the message boards, the forums, people like to bring up and talk about. It's a tricky one. I mean, at the end of the day, the problem is not the problem, but the scenario or the facts is that a lot of the household names in mixed martial arts that we all, when we got into this sport, we followed and we enjoyed, they're all coming to the end of their careers. You know what I mean? So there's new blood coming through. And even though you're familiar with them, you're not necessarily looking in them and holding them in that same reverence that you hold some of the old school guys. And I was talking about this on UFC Tonight a while ago. They were saying, what's your prediction for 2018? I said 2018, we're going to see a lot of the household names that were once upon a time champions, but still now capable of headlining shows, FS1 shows and things like that. They're all going to be retired. At the end of this year, we're going to have guys like myself, Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida, Anderson Silva, Vito Belfort, who's some others, Nogueira, Quinton Rampage Jackson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, there is other people, a lot of others, but they're just the first few that comes to mind. And when we sat down and did it, there was a lot of people this year that's going to retire. Or maybe not this year, maybe this year, next year, but they're at the end of their careers. They've had long careers. They used to be a champion. Now they're not necessarily pay-per-view stars, but they still hold value to, to consumers. That said, there's new blood coming through all the time, and, people like to talk shit and maybe some of the star power hasn't been the best, but, I mean, it's hard. I mean, there is a lot of fights these days. There is a lot of fights, and there's only so many weight categories. Not every single card can be, can't be a UFC 217. And what I mean by that is 3 title fights on with a ridiculous undercard. People like to talk a lot, the journalists, about, Conor McGregor not being around. Conor's going to be back sometime this year. If you follow him on Instagram, he's training again. Ronda's done. She said today or yesterday, she said on the Ellen show that she said going back to MMA is probably just as likely as her going back to Olympic judo. So I think that means she's never going to fight again. I mean, it's the changing of the guard, to use a cliched expression, but, this is what happens. I think years ago, people used to say, to Dana, I was in a press conference and they were like, well, what are you going to do when Chuck Liddell retires or whatever? There's always the next guy. There's always the new guy. You know what I mean? And you'll go through a hot spot and then maybe it mellows a little bit. Everything goes in cycles. You know, so if people are bitching about stuff like that, you know, it's not going to be long. I mean, we've got DC fighting Stipe coming up. We've got Khabib versus Tony. Obviously, Connor's coming back this year. There's new stars coming through all the time, you know. So I think people just like to look and analyze things and bitch a little bit. You know, if you don't want to pay for the card, you know, don't buy it. If you do, you enjoy what you see and someone catches your attention, then buy it. I mean, really, that's not my business, you know, and I can't really say it better than that, really. What's your take, Lewis?
Well, and the other thing that the UFC has done as well is they've sort of bought out, I don't want to say, you know, bought out to, I guess, a negative connotation, but they've created their own minor league within the UFC. So that we, you know, we have fight nights, we have, you know, the preliminary cards. It's the UFC's roster is probably 3 times the size it was when I got into the sport, and they have 3 times the amount of fights. So when you look at it, you know, but the perception is, holy shit, every card back in the day used to be front to back. Oh my God, holy fuck, everyone's a star. They still have as many stars. The truth is there's just more fights happening, and they're branded UFC now, whereas before, to get that many fights, you had to go elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a fantastic point. I think there used to be, but I don't know, when I first got involved with mixed martial arts, you know, as you say, I think there was like six or 7, maybe more, maybe less, but it was, you know, I'm not a million miles away. So that meant you could have a title fight. You could have a Chuck Liddell or a Tito Ortiz or a Randy Couture, someone like that on every single card at the top of the bill, as you say, you know. So many fights these days. Now, people like to put a negative connotation on that and say they've oversaturated the market. You know, but I don't think that's necessarily true because it's supply and demand and people are watching these events and it's building the stars. I mean, as you said, you do have the Fight Pass prelims now. Go well on them, then you get on the Fox prelims. You do well on there. You get on the FS1 prelim headliner, which is actually these days kind of a prestigious spot to have on the event.
Yeah.
You know, and then from there, of course, you got the UFC pay-per-views and so on and so forth. So there is, as you say, I've never thought of it like that though, Lewis. That is that's a wise observation. But yeah, it kind of is a feeder league, if you will. But yeah, but listen, people like to bitch on everything. You know, if you want, buy it. If you don't, then don't. You know. So yeah, there we go.
Next
All right.
question.
Next question.
Hello, Lewis and Michael. This is a strange question. Your podcast is absolutely fantastic. I actually look forward to Mondays now. Thank you very much. My question is, would either of you do panto? I could see you both doing panto at the beautiful Minack Theater in beautiful Cornwall. Keep up the great work, lads. Dave from sunny Cornwall in England.
All right, Dave. All right. Do you want me to explain what panto is?
He sent pictures, and it looks like a big old stone theater.
Well, panto is short for pantomime. Do you know what pantomime is?
Yes, I know what pantomime is.
It's like theatre, you know what I mean? But it's like generally for kids at Christmas. They'll do like Jack and the Beanstalk, and like the actors, like they'll talk to the crowd, and the crowd they say, "What do they say? Oh yes, he is," and everyone goes, "Oh no, he isn't."
Well, pantomime.
Say, he's behind you and shit like that. Now, generally, that is where anyone that had a little bit of celebrity in the UK, that's where they go to die. And they finish off doing pantos at Christmas and this and that. Now, if you're doing panto and you're killing it and you're loving it, I apologize. But that is my takeaway.
Yeah. A pantomime here in the States, it's like a clown that doesn't talk. They wear all black, and they have a white face, and they do stuck in a box, and they have the rope, and you know.
That's called a mime artist.
That's a pantomime.
It's no, that's a mime artist.
Panto.
Right, Google
I'm
pantomime and mime.
Hold on, Shannon, go.
Pantomime is a dramatic entertainment originating in Roman mime in which performers express meaning through gestures accompanied by music.
Shut up.
The gestures,
Yes.
you're right.
So, hold on, am I correct or am I wrong?
Who's right? I don't understand what happened there. I wasn't listening to Shannon.
Shannon, who's correct?
Okay, wait, but there's a British meaning for it also, which is what you're saying. So you guys are both right.
So the British meaning is your weird fucking
theatrical entertainment mainly for children. Yes.
Yeah, it's like a fag in England is a cigarette, and a fag in here is Michael Bisping.
I was like, Jesus Christ! Oh my God, Lewis. Okay, and what did he ask? Listen, Dave from Cornwall. Much love, Cornwall, beautiful part of the country. Used to go on my summer holidays there every single year, down to Fistral Beach. Big Fat Willie's Surf Shack, you know the one. But yeah, I'm not looking to do pantomime. A good friend of mine, Alex Reed, he's killing it on the pantomime scene lately. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm filming MacGyver right now, and I have another XXX later in the year, and a few movies coming out. But if that all goes to shit, then maybe I will be looking for some pantomimes. What was I going to say, Lewis?
That was really it about the pantomime stuff.
Yeah. You know, I was trying to Google there, and I was going to quickly Google panto, and when I opened my phone, it flashed up. I did an audition today, and I had to do a New York accent in the audition. I'm not doing it on air.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Flashed up. Oh, shit.
Go.
Yeah. Hold on. All right. Let me bring up the dialogue. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I can't do it. I'm not doing it.
We should do an entire episode where you do a New York accent, I'll do a British accent. It'll be fucking great.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
right.
how about this, Mike? Listen, Mike. Why don't I read the last question as a Brit, and you could answer the last question as a New Yorker?
No, because what I had to do is I had to spend many hours last night perfecting those lines. I can't just freestyle it as a New Yorker. I had to work at it. But talking of you doing a British accent, Lewis, and my apologies to any of the believers that were expecting me and Lewis in person live this week in London, because we did say we were going to do a live show. Lewis kind of backed out of it, so there you go.
I did not back out of it.
All Lewis's fault. What?
That's just bullshit. You were supposed to have a friend that was supposed to set it up. If I was in charge of setting it up, we would have fucking crushed it. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's not happening. But UFC London this weekend is happening. I get him a flight there tomorrow night, so I'll be there. So looking forward to just being a part of the show and meeting the fantastic UFC fans. So if you're around, come and say hi. Do we have one question?
We do have one more question, and I will say real quick because we got to wrap up after this question. But we are going to do some live stuff very soon. I want to go down to England so badly. So we've talked about doing some live podcasts. We've talked about doing some other stuff. So look out for that. We will be posting that social media. Follow us on Twitter, obviously, at Bisping, at Louis J. Gomez, and at...
I was going to say that we're copying Brendan Sharp, though, because that's what he said. Apparently, on comments on YouTube, someone said, Brendan Sharp said that we're copying because a fighter and a comedian doing a podcast.
No,
and I was like, well, hold
on.
That's ridiculous. If we did a live show, then we'd definitely be copying.
First of all, I've been doing live podcasts. Legion of Skanks has been a live podcast for 5 years. Before Brendan Schaub had ever thought about what a podcast was, I've been doing live podcasts. So nobody's copying anybody. Did he really say that? He didn't say that.
I know. I'm just saying it for the sake of saying it. But what was your question?
Okay, I'll say the question.
No, I'm going to say, did you just ask me something then as I spoke?
No. We could do a fucking live pod. What are you talking about? People do live podcasts. That's crazy.
No, Brendan Sharp owns the rights to live podcast, Lewis. It's as simple as that. Respect the Sharp.
Respect the Sharp. Oh, shit. All right, last question. Here we go. Mike, are you left-handed? Wait, hold on. Mike, are you left-handed orthodox? It looks like you have more dexterity and coordination with your lead hand and leg. What would you think about leading with your dominant hand? By the way, Swedish wrestling is far better than Mike has insinuated. We've had more than a few Olympic gold medalists. Love the podcast. Never get too professional. The shit show is what makes it the greatest of all time. Nearly cry of laughter when Mike shouts at his family for just about anything. Take care, Carl.
Well, thank you, Carl. And I know about as much about Swedish wrestling as I do about Swedish food, which isn't very much. And if you've had gold medals, fucking get it over yourself. So what? No one likes a braggadocious bastard. It's one of the 7 deadly sins, being prideful or proud, right?
Yeah.
Question. Yeah, very observant. What was his name? Dave?
Carl.
I'm going to say Carl. Dave isn't a Swedish name, and Carl, I don't even think this guy's Swedish, if I'm honest. I mean, who's ever met a Swede called Carl?
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, I am left-handed. I stand orthodox, which generally means you would be right-handed. But yeah, I'm very, very left-hand dominant. I do everything with my left hand. And I guess because people always say that, they say, oh, he's a converted southpaw. And no, I'm not a converted southpaw. Just, I started doing traditional martial arts when I was a kid. And when we had to stand in what they call the fighting stance, which is obviously a boxing stance, that's just the way they told me to stand. I walked in when I was like 8 years old and he said, put your left foot forward, and that's how you stand. And to be honest, it kind of worked out because my left hand does so much. I mean, I don't throw it nearly as much as my right, and I don't kick with my right nearly as much as my left. Everything is my left. I'm left-handed, left-footed, just everything. So, but yeah, it's interesting. I think that was just not ignorance. They didn't ask when I was a kid saying, which handed are you? They just told me to stand like that, and I just developed a style like that. But I like that because the jab is one of the most important weapons in mixed martial arts, and of course left hook Larry is there. He's close to the opponents. I throw a combination. I always finish with a jab when I'm on the bags or on the pads. 1, 2, left hook, right hand, step off, jab. Always step off with the jab. It's a defensive maneuver. If you haven't hurt your opponent and they're following you in, as you step off, boom, stick that jab in the face, they'll stop following you. You can bust people's faces up with the jabs pretty good. So I've got a good, powerful jab. Obviously, I'm left-handed. And that's very well spotted of you, Carl. Or perhaps you just read or heard an interview of me one day. And I believe that was a weak question to end on, Lewis.
Mike, what am I supposed to say here? Sometimes they're weak questions. Yeah, I can't make them ask great questions.
Add something to it. You know what I mean?
Okay, and then he also said, fucking...
Basically, the question was, Mike, are you left-handed? And I went, yeah. I mean, how much can I elaborate? I did a pretty professional job of elaborating of whether or not Carl asked me if I was left-handed.
Look, blame
Shannon,
Harrington.
Shannon, are you right-handed?
I am, yes.
Shannon, do you do everything with your right hand?
Yes.
Everything?
Everything.
Great question. Hey, Lewis, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Right-handed?
Yes, I am, but I don't do everything with my right hand.
You could have elaborated a bit more for the sake of the podcast, bro.
Yeah,
What do you do with your left hand?
I jerk off with my left hand. I really do.
So that's weird because I'm left-handed, but...
And you jerk off with my left hand?
Yeah, with your left hand.
Ah, damn it. I meant I jerk off. God damn it. I'm the gay guy in that one.
What was the last part of Carl's question?
What was the last part of Carl's question?
You said he also asked something else.
Oh, no, he didn't really. I was going to improvise, but I wasn't quick enough.
All right, well, I guess that's the end of the show. I need a pee anyway. I've drank a lot of coffee. I'm going to go for the said run around the city. Then I'm going to lift some weights, stay in shape and all that.
Yeah,
I fly to London. If I see you around, come say hi. Thanks for tuning in. Shannon, Lewis. I would say Harrington, but I don't mean it. Thank you very much. Until next week, thank you. The converted southpaw. And no, I'm not a converted southpaw. Just... I started doing traditional martial arts when I was a kid, and when we had to stand in what they call the fighting stance, which is obviously a boxing stance, that's just the way they told me to stand. I walked in when I was like 8 years old, and they said, put your left foot forward, and that's how you stand. And to be honest, it kind of worked out because my left hand does so much. I mean, I don't throw it nearly as much as my right, and I don't kick with my right nearly as much as my left. Everything is my left. I'm left-handed, left-footed, just everything. So, but yeah, it's interesting. I think that was just not ignorance. They didn't ask when I was a kid saying, which handed are you? They just told me to stand like that, and I just developed a style like that. But I like that because the jab is one of the most important weapons in mixed martial arts, and of course left hook Larry is there. He's close to the opponents. I throw a combination. I always finish with a jab when I'm on the bags or on the pads. 1, 2, left hook, right hand, step off, jab. Always step off with the jab. It's a defensive maneuver. If you haven't hurt your opponent and they're following you in, as you step off, boom, stick that jab in the face, they'll stop following you. You can bust people's faces up with the jabs pretty good. So I've got a good, powerful jab. Obviously, I'm left-handed. And that's very well spotted of you, Carl. Or perhaps you just read or heard an interview of me one day. And I believe that was a weak question to end on, Lewis.
Mike, what am I supposed to say here? Sometimes they're weak questions. Yeah, I can't make them ask great questions.
Add something to it. You know what I mean?
Okay, and then he also said, fucking...
Basically, the question was, Mike, are you left-handed? And I went, yeah. I mean, how much can I elaborate? I did a pretty professional job of elaborating of whether or not Carl asked me if I was left-handed.
Look, blame
Shannon,
Harrington.
Shannon, are you right-handed?
I am, yes.
Shannon, do you do everything with your right hand?
Yes.
Everything?
Everything.
Great question. Hey, Lewis, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Right-handed?
Yes, I am, but I don't do everything with my right hand.
You could have elaborated a bit more for the sake of the podcast, bro.
Yeah,
What do you do with your left hand?
I jerk off with my left hand. I really do.
So that's weird because I'm left-handed, but
And you jerk off with my left hand?
Yeah, with your left hand.
Ah, damn it. I jerk off. God damn it. I'm the gay guy in that one.
What was the last part of Carl's question?
What was the last part of Carl's question?
You said he also asked something else.
Oh, no, he didn't really. I was going to improvise, but I wasn't quick enough.
All right. Well, I guess that's the end of the show. I need a pee anyway. I've drank a lot of coffee. I'm going to go for the said run around the city. Then I'm going to lift some weights, stay in shape and all that. Yeah, I fly to London. If I see you around, come say hi. Thanks for tuning in. Shannon, Lewis. I would say Harrington, but I don't mean it. Thank you very much. Until next week. Thank you.
I'm the gay guy in that one.
What was the last part of Carl's question?
What was the last part of Carl's question?
You said he also asked something else.
Oh, no, he didn't really. I was going to improvise, but I wasn't quick enough.
All right. Well, I guess that's the end of the show. I need a pee anyway. I've drank a lot of coffee. I'm going to go for the said run around the city. Then I'm going to lift some weights, stay in shape and all that. Yeah, I fly to London. If I see you around, come say hi. Thanks for tuning in. Shannon, Lewis. I would say Harrington, but I don't mean it. Thank you very much. Until next week. Thank you. I would say Harrington, but I don't mean it. Thank you very much. Until next week. Thank you. Thank you.